So I will share with you in this video the surrendering technique. This technique is fabulous. It is the best I have found because of its simplicity, most especially in 40 to 50 years in the spiritual path. So I highly recommend that you write down notes. Now, the technique is liberating. Keep this in mind. What does it mean that it is liberating? It means that it can bring you from wherever you are now in the spiritual development all the way to the end, all the way to liberation. And the best of the technique is that it is so simple. Now, simple in this case doesn't mean superficial. It is really profound. And you will see why. I will explain why it is profound. Because it is so simple, you can practice it any moment, anytime. It's not a technique that requires you to sit down, take a special time, interrupt what you are doing. No, it's something that you can do on the go. You are in the middle of a conversation, you realize that there is some negativity arising in the mind-body organism, and you immediately use the technique and surrender that. So simplicity is what makes it so powerful. Let's start by explaining that the spiritual path has 3 stages, and they are very, very clear. The first stage is called the self-development stage. Is where you as a person become interested in decreasing suffering and increasing happiness by working on yourself. At some point you realize that it is not just about acquiring things externally, gaining something in the external world, recognition, things, possessions, that the real obstacle is you, is how you are responding to life. And then at that moment you start this first part of the journey, which is called self-improvement or personal development. What people usually do during this period? Well, they meditate, they practice yoga, they go to therapy, they read books on self-improvement. That's the first phase. At some point in this part of the journey, you become interested and curious about a particular question. That question is, what am I really? You begin to doubt that what you have been told that you are by your parents and family, friends, teachers, and society may not be true, and that you are something entirely different. That gives birth to the second stage. It's very likely that if you are watching this video, you are already into that second stage. That's the stage of awakening. To what? To your true nature. That second stage ends with awakening, the actual awakening, where you see clearly what you are and what you're not. Awakening happens in an instant. It is an aha moment where you realize, wow, I'm really not what I thought. I'm something so different to that. At that moment, the second phase of the spiritual path ends. Awakening has been attained. But be careful, suffering has not entirely finished. There have been improvements in that direction. Your life now is transpiring in a state that is much more comfortable, but still there is suffering. So the awakening stage ends and the next stage begins. The next stage is called embodiment. Embodying the awakening. This final stage leads to liberation. The interesting thing is that the surrendering technique is something that you can practice during these 3 stages. Doesn't matter in which one you are. You can practice it anytime. Another very interesting thing about the surrendering technique is that the minute you initiate the technique, just before you initiate the technique, 4 things have already happened. What are these 4 things? First, there was clear observation that there is a negative mental object arising in the mind-body organism. There was a becoming aware. Something is arising here that is not pleasant. Second, you notice that thing that is arising and you label it correctly. If it is an emotion, with 1 word. If it is a thought, with a sentence. You label it correctly. If it is a crooked desire, you need a sentence. If it is a distorted belief, you also need a sentence. But for an emotion, you just need 1 word. And this distinction gives you power. Emotions are guilt, shame, hopelessness, sadness, fear, anger, and pride. These are the basics. What do you do once you have watched that? You realize that something is emerging that is less than ideal? Well, as I said, you label it correctly. The first thing that happens is you stop the projection. The natural thing, the natural tendency is to project it. This person did this to me. That individual is responsible for what I am feeling. That projection has to go. Instead of that, you need to think, this negativity arose in this organism, so I am responsible for it. Nobody else. That's stopping the projection and taking responsibility. Extremely important. Otherwise, you won't be able to even start doing the surrendering technique. And third, In order to do the technique, you need to have the willingness to let go. If that willingness is not there, if you're attached to this negativity and you say, I need this frustration to defend myself, for example, then you won't be able to start the technique. You need to be willing to let go. So these are 4 simple things that happen in seconds. Once you have automatized the technique, in seconds all these 4 things happen and you initiate the technique immediately. So I'm going to explain now the technique itself. The technique has 3 sentences. The first sentence is the most important. And the first sentence says the following: this negativity, and you put the name of the negative emotion, for example, there. This frustration is surrendered now to the divine. Completely, completely, completely. Why do you repeat completely 3 times? To really feel that you are willing to let it go, is to surrender it. That's why completely, completely, completely. Then it comes the second sentence. Please take it away forever, forever, forever. Again, you repeat 3 times forever because you want to feel that you really, really want to let go of that. You don't want to be disturbed by this negative feeling or thought for the rest of your existence as a separate self. And then it comes the third one. The third one is pretty interesting. It is thank you, thank you, thank you. Why? Because you want to recognize that this is being surrendered to the divine, which is your true nature, by the way, pure consciousness. It's being surrendered to true nature, to the divine, and you will stop fighting it. Look, you can take your sword and try to go after your demons and try to destroy them. Be my guest. You're gonna get hurt. So instead of doing that, instead of fighting, you let go. It is much easier. So when you say thank you, thank you, thank you, you are recognizing that this now is the divine's job, not yours, as a little self. At the end of the technique, take a moment, just a few seconds, to make silence. Why? Because in that silence, no thoughts, just silence, like with a receptive attitude. In that silence, the right inside, a thought that you never thought before, a new thought, a new idea can come in that silence. An idea so powerful that can dissolve the issue, destroy this negativity instantaneously. That's why you do a little silence at the end. There are 2 possibilities when you do this. One is a new idea enters and you feel free again. The other possibility is nothing happens. Don't worry. Just continue with your life. Let go. It's going to happen anyway. You already gave permission to the divine through the law of free will to change the mind-body organism and to correct the problem in its very roots. you made use of the highest law in the illusion, in duality. The highest law is free will. Free will in this illusory world is respected to the T. If you don't want to let go, the universe says yes. If you want to let go, the universe says yes. The universe will let you choose. Free will means the freedom to let go or retain. Hold to your suffering. The surrendering technique helps you to let go. So, how the divine will do the job is not your your problem. The divine will do it. You already did what you have to do as a separate illusory self. This technique, as I said, is liberating and is available for anyone and everyone that have enough humility to surrender. If there is still too much pride around the me, I, and no, this is something I can change, then you won't be able to practice it. So it's based on a little bit of humility. It is very valuable to automatize the technique, meaning that when a negativity arises, you immediately, boom, go to the technique. And you say the words, insert the negativity in the words, and you practice the technique. You utter the technique. In your own thoughts, you could be in the middle of a conversation. You notice that this is happening, and do your surrender quietly in your mind. Don't need to stop making a special time, sit with it. No, it is much simpler than that. You can be walking on the streets, driving your car, in the middle of a conversation, anytime. This automatization of the technique, putting it in automatic, is extremely important. If this doesn't happen, then the technique will be something that you will practice now and then, but it will not have the power to change your life as much as it can. So if you are having any difficulties to automatize this, and you need a push to come to that point, you may consider doing some coaching sessions. And I leave you my email at the end of the description of this video, below the video. You can, with that email, you can connect directly with me. We can do some coaching sessions to make sure that you really get it, how to practice this technique, and you automatize the use of it. As I said, the spiritual path has these three clear stages: before awakening, during awakening, and finally the last part, which is the embodiment. If you're in the awakening phase, that you are really interested in finding what you are really, consider the awakening protocol. There are many other ways to attain awakening. There are psychedelics, meditation and techniques, and you name it. But the awakening protocol has no risks. You go through it with all your senses active, and it's a step-by-step process, guided process, to help you realize what you are really and what you are not. So I leave you a link to the Awakening Protocol below at the end of the description of this video. And that's it. I hope this helps you. Please, if you can, press like. It will help, because then the video will reach more people. Subscribe to the channel if these subjects interest you. And another thing, if you know Spanish, I would recommend that you watch this video in the Spanish version. I always upload one video in English, one video in Spanish, about the same subject every week. So look for the Spanish version and watch it in Spanish. Why? Because sometimes we get the insights through one language, and sometimes it is easier through another. And finally, one more advice. Check the description of the video. Read it. I take time to make a summary that is useful for you about this video, so it will reinforce in writing now what I have already explained. Have a good one.